We begin our broadcast tonight with the revolution on the streets of Bangladesh. Student revolution has ended Sheikh Hasina's era. The army is in charge. Its General Wakar-uz-Zaman has appealed a return to calm. More importantly, the students seem to be in the mood to listen as their long march has ended the long era of Hasina. It was a dramatic day in Dhaka today. It started with the people's uprising on Monday morning. Thousands marched to Dhaka, chanting and demanding Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's resignation. Soon they were met with tear gas and sand grenades, with several people reportedly killed in clashes. It was still 9:30 in the morning. As unrest gripped the nation, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned and fled the country. Hasina, who has led Bangladesh since 2009, boarded an Air Force aircraft and headed out of Bangladesh. And as news came of Hasina's departure, jubilant crowds took to the streets, celebrating the departure of long-term Prime Minister. Crowds waved flags while some danced on top of a parked tank in Dhaka. Soon, protesters stormed the Prime Minister's official residence, looting chairs and sofas. Angry protesters also climbed atop a statue of Sheikh Hasina's father and independence leader Sheikh Mujibur Rahman as they chiseled away at the statue's head with an axe. It shows the depth of public anger.
সরানোর প্রচেষ্টা করছেন আমরা দেখছি এই মুহূর্তে বিজয় সরণী এলাকার চিত্র দেখছেন আপনারা
It didn't take long before the military took over. Army Chief General Wakar-uz-Zaman confirmed Hasina's resignation in a national address at 4 p.m. local time. He declared that an interim government would take over and assured the public that the curfew and state of emergency were no longer necessary.
The Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh has resigned from her post, and we will form an interim government for now to run the country. Please keep faith and trust in the army. I take the responsibility and I promise to protect the lives and property of the people. Don't lose faith in the army. God willing, we will fulfill your demands and bring peace and harmony back to the country. I request you all to support the army and stop the violence, murders, hooliganism and the protests.
Internet access was restored, barricades were removed, but how did we arrive at this moment of upheaval? For weeks, the unrest had been brewing. On Sunday, Prime Minister Hasina dismissed protesters as terrorists. This following violent anti-government clashes claimed over 300 lives last month. Naturally, her words did nothing to quell the rising tide of anger. By Monday, protesters began their long march to Dhaka. The pressure proved too much for Prime Minister Hasina. Her departure, likened to a coup d'etat by many political experts, was a response to the overwhelming wave of dissent. You see, what started as peaceful student protests against civil service job quotas favoring descendants of the 1971 independence war last month had turned violent. And protesters had blamed Hasina's government for the violence. Sheikh Hasina's critics and right groups have accused her government of using excessive force against student protesters, a charge that the erstwhile government denied. Come Monday, Hasina's downfall was both swift and severe. As per reports, a critical error was her decision to deploy the Chhatra League, her party Awami League student wing. She deployed them against the peaceful protesters, then the violent crackdowns only further outraged the public. Security forces began rounding up student leaders, opposition activists, as footage of unarmed students being shot went viral. Calls for Hasina's resignation became more intense. Throughout the crisis, Sheikh Hasina was accused of appearing disconnected, unsympathetic. According to her critics, she appeared to be more worried about damage to public property than about the plight of the students, labeling them as traitors and terrorists. That did not help her case. In fact, during the height of the protests last month, Hasina labelled the protesters as razakars, a term considered derogatory in Bangladesh. It's a term used to describe people who supported the Pakistani military's operation to quell the Bangladesh Liberation War in the 1970s. That allegedly resulted in heinous crimes against the people. As per reports, Bangladesh's military, historically a significant political force in the country, also played a decisive role. On Sunday, General Zaman's statement that the armed forces supported the people, it signalled a shift. His predecessor, General WION, had already condemned the killings, called for troop withdrawal. Analysts say that the military assessed the resilience of the protest and concluded that Hasina's resignation was inevitable. They waited for the right moment and acted according to the public sentiment. According to reports in the Bangladeshi media, the military gave Sheikh Hasina a 45-minute ultimatum: resign and leave the country. And now you know how the events unfolded today. But this is just the beginning. The resignation of Sheikh Hasina, it opens a new chapter of challenges. The Awami League's depoliticization of government institutions means distrust runs deep. What comes next? We don't know. The interim government faces the daunting task of restoring stability, of addressing grievances that fueled this upheaval in the first place. Will there be elections next? In the absence of a caretaker government, how will the country operate? Can the military ensure democracy prevails? The next few days will reveal all. We're also learning that the former Prime Minister of Bangladesh is headed to London to live out her retirement days with her sister, a retirement that could have come on a better note had she listened to the voice of the young, of the frustrated, of the deprived, of those saying that 30% of jobs cannot be reserved for the descendants of veterans of the 1971 war. After all, the price of not listening to the streets is always high. For the Sheikh Hasina family, it could not have been higher. She has left behind a democracy in tatters, people wounded, youth frustrated, and the future uncertain. What comes next? Your guess is as good as mine.
For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.